For those who missed it, I wasn't done editing in time because my Tolkien lore video took longer than expected, which delayed everything a bit, and so I had to split this video into two parts. Sadly for me, the Microsoft press conference stole some of my predictions for the other conferences of this second part here, which was to be expected. The biggest one was FromSoft's reveal of their new game and Cyberpunk 2077, but now you can see how right or wrong I was for a few titles, so let's continue. I don't expect too many new IPs from Square. They have the Final Fantasy VII Remake, Kingdom Hearts 3, Shadow of the Tomb Raider and so on. Will they announce a new mainline Final Fantasy? I don't think so. I also would be surprised if they announce a new Final Fantasy MMO, even though Final Fantasy XIV seems successful, so I would expect another expansion for that instead of a totally new game. However, Square is a company that announces games quite early, so there is potential for surprises. I don't think Deus Ex will return anytime soon, and Eidos Montreal is working on an Avengers game, so I would expect a reveal for that. Also, there is a rumor about Just Cause 4 and even a recent leak on Steam. It's quite surprising for me. The Just Cause games were developed by Avalanche Studios before, but they are working on Rage 2 and a new IP called Generation Zero, which seems to be a co-op world survival game with robots instead of zombies. Beyond that, they have a lot of game studios and maybe announce more games for the Switch. Would be a nice surprise to see Sleeping Dogs return, but that would come out of nowhere. They have the Mana and Legacy of Kain franchise, maybe a new Mana game for the Switch, but I don't think so. A new Legacy of Kain game seems like a possibility though. There's also the rumor about a new Dragon Quest game, and it seems quite likely that this could actually come. Ubisoft also has announced some big games already. We have the Assassin's Creed Odyssey leak, so no more surprise there. But I have to admit I would not have expected a new Assassin's Creed so soon. We also know about The Division 2. Skull and Bones was delayed, so maybe they are changing things up a little bit and show the changes at E3. Like player versus player combat on the ships instead of pure ship combat. And there's the rumor about a new Splinter Cell. I said there won't be one last year, and I was right, but this year could be different and enough time passed to expect a new game. I think it's very likely. I also expect to hear more about the ambitious project Beyond Good and Evil 2. Also, their Nintendo collaboration worked out so well this time that I see them continuing it in some way, either a direct sequel or a surprise again. I would prefer the latter, to be honest. Speaking of surprises, I would not be surprised if they would announce For Honor 2 this E3 or next year. The game was pretty much revived recently with some significant multiplayer changes, and I see them making another one to improve it further. I would also not be surprised if they don't have at least one new IP. After they prevented the hostile takeover, I can imagine Ubisoft has a lot of confidence and they want to further step up their game. They get often a lot of flack, but they at least are one of the few AAA publishers in the world taking some risks here and there, which often leads to new IPs. The PC gaming conference could be interesting too. Underworld Ascension and maybe one of the two System Shock games in development could be there. In the context of former Looking Glass studio members, I also want to mention Ken Levine, the creator of BioShock. He is working on something too for quite some time now with his new studio, Ghost Story Games. I don't know where he will show up, but I guess we will hear about his new project. His studio is tied to Take-Two Interactive, so he will either show up on Microsoft's or Sony's stage. I would guess Sony, and I would expect something very unique that has some ties to Shadow of Mordor's Nemesis system, but a stronger focus on storytelling. He commented on that in the past. However, Microsoft is in desperate need for games, so maybe they show it there. Phil Spencer announced like 15 games for the Microsoft press conference, and nobody knows where he will take those 15 games from. Beyond that, we will see Age of Empires 4. I hope for gameplay. I have still hope for Warcraft 4, but that would be something for BlizzCon 2018. Also, Riot Games has like 4 games in development in the background, and that for quite some time. Maybe we hear from their former fighting game studio Radiant Entertainment. I think this year could have at least one big reveal, but no clue if it will be at the PC gaming conference. Blizzard this year should be interesting too, because they must be working on multiple things and we know nothing. Same with Activision. I said last year that there is no way that they will miss out on the Battle Royale trend, meaning Blizzard. In the end, it was their partner Activision with their next Call of Duty who went for it, which I did not consider, but close enough. COD will be available in the Battle.net launcher though. Sony will most likely have a FromSoft announcement, maybe even multiple. There will be a new mecha game, I guess from the Armored Core franchise. We also got that strange teaser last year. Could be related to Shadow Tower, Tenchu or something totally new, and I would go with the latter. Still, there is one more thing in development for FromSoft, and I still believe in something like a Demon's Souls remaster. Bloodborne 2 seems unlikely because it would be their C team developing it. Sony will proudly present more about Kojima's Death Stranding. I think we will see first gameplay. Same with Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us 2 and Friends. Obviously, Sony has tons of resources, so what could be coming to? God of War is too fresh, but maybe something like a DLC. I think they denied DLC plans for it in the past though. There will be definitely a God of War sequel, but not at E3 2018. Another possibility could be a little teaser by the Last Guardian developers, which would be a big surprise, but seems possible. I think Sony will have something new to announce. And we have Nintendo, Pokemon and a new Metroid are announced, same with a new Smash Bros. And Nintendo will announce more. They are doing quite well and they have some capacities. A new Mario Maker, or at least a Switch version, is still pretty high up my prediction list. Maybe they already have news for a new Mario game. Pikmin is also a possibility. In addition, it's nice to see Bayonetta 3. In this context, Platinum Games also announced working on something innovative, so I'm interested in hearing more about it, but it's hard to say where they will announce it and when. A new Mother game is also on a lot of wish lists for quite some time. The potential of Nintendo is as always impressive, same with Sony. They could just come up with something new and surprise everyone. Also, the Xenoblade developer announced that they are working on something new that is not Xenoblade, but I don't expect it at E3 this year. I don't know if the Nintendo 64 Classic rumor is true. Definitely possible, but difficult. The early 3D era is, in my opinion, not as appealing by today's standards. The Super Nintendo was on the height of its art of 2D games. The N64 was just the beginning. Well, we have reached new heights when it comes to 3D over the years, so I don't feel an N64 Classic would work as well. Of course, there are some exceptional games of that era on the N64 too, that people would play, but I think not as many compared to the stacked Super Nintendo era. So, who is left? Capcom. I guess more about a new Resident Evil and the remaster of 2, plus more Monster Hunter. They also still have Deep Down, quite literally deep down in development hell it seems. I think Capcom also has at least one new project in the works. A new Street Fighter is slowly coming up, but that is still too early. I see it next year or 2020. Also, there is a Devil May Cry 5 rumor, which seems very plausible. CD Projekt will show us Cyberpunk 2077, no doubt about it, I assume on the Sony conference. And Sega could bring some surprises too. I think they still have a mentioned but unannounced project in the works, but no idea what that could be. Remedy Entertainment also has Project 7. This will be revealed probably at Microsoft's press conference. Namco already surprised with Twin Mirror, which will be developed by Don't Not Entertainment, which seems to develop a lot of games in parallel lately. They just released Vampire and Life is Strange 2 is in development too, but won't be at E3 I guess. Also, I could imagine that a new GTA teaser is relatively close, but I assume that's more likely next year or something for the PlayStation experience. In contrast, Borderlands 3 seems likely to be at E3 this year. It's also hard to say what's going on with Monolith and Warner Bros. Will they continue with Lord of the Rings? I hope so, but I don't think they will continue Shadow of War directly. Warner Bros. Could also be working on a new Batman or other DC related game. Maybe that's what Rocksteady Studios is working on. I also assume a new Mortal Kombat could be announced, because we are in a new golden age of fighting games, at least it feels this way. Street Fighter V, Tekken 7, Dragon Ball FighterZ and so on are all going strong. Soul Calibur 6 could be released around their 20th anniversary of the series, which should be the 30th of July. So around August is my prediction for a release date, which we will get at E3. Also, Dead or Alive 6 was announced, plus a ton of other fighting games. Mortal Kombat would fit. Overall, there is so much going on right now in gaming, it's hard to keep track. I for sure forgot something. I had a game in mind just like 5 minutes ago and forgot what it was. But for the sake of releasing this video in time, I'll end it here. Thank you for watching. As mentioned, I for sure forgot something, so what are your predictions? Feel free to share them in the comment section. And what game did I forgot? My next video will be most likely after all press conferences are done. I won't summarize E3 this year, but instead focus more on interesting topics and thoughts that might occur during E3. I have already an idea for at least one topic I want to discuss. If I have more, I can imagine to make more videos. After E3, I most likely continue with lore videos. If you haven't seen it yet, I just released one that might go under a bit during E3. Also, if you like this video, consider the like button, it helps a lot. Again, thank you for watching and goodbye.